And finally tonight, the college football season is reaching a climax of rivalries and conference championship games, and its basketball season is now underway. But much of the action in college sports these days is away from the field or the court as schools change affiliations and leagues. In the last 18 months, some 30 colleges have made moves. Among the most prominent, the University of Louisville's departure from the Big East to join the Atlantic Coast Conference, or ACC, and two Eastern schools headed to the Big Ten, traditionally a Midwest-based conference. The University of Maryland is leaving the ACC, and Rutgers is departing from the Big East. What's going on? Well, sports writer and author John Feinstein joins me now. John, first of all, for the uninitiated, explain the role of these conferences traditionally. How do they work, and how do they divide up the college world?
Well, Jeff, conferences were designed initially to take schools that were together geographically and allow them to compete against one another, and also schools that were similar academically and played sports at a similar level so the games would be competitive. The Atlantic Coast Conference consisted of teams on the Atlantic Coast ranging from the state of Maryland down to the state of South Carolina. When the Big East was formed in 1979, it went from Boston in the east to Syracuse, New York as its westernmost outlet. The Big Ten, as you said, was Midwestern schools. The Pac-8, which is now the Pac-12, was, surprisingly enough, 4 schools in California, 2 in Oregon, and 2 in Washington. So geography was important, academics were important, and competitive levels were important. Now the landscape has changed completely. Geography has been thrown out completely. Academics have been thrown out completely, and to some degree, competitive levels have been thrown out completely because it's all about what schools can make you the most TV dollars as a conference, and what conferences can make schools the most TV dollars. Right, that's the unifying force now.
So it's dollars and television, particularly in football, right?
Exactly. All of these changes that have happened really over a period of almost 10 years now, because it began when the ACC 9 years ago raided the Big East for Virginia Tech, Miami, and Boston College to try to improve itself as a football conference to get more TV dollars for football. It is about football because basketball actually at most schools nets more dollars because the cost is less. But the potential in football, because of television dollars, is far greater. So all of these moves are based on what can make the most dollars in football on television. That's why Rutgers and Maryland are going to the Big Ten, because by getting into the New York market with Rutgers, even though it's in New Jersey, and into the Washington, D.C. market with Maryland, the amount of money the Big Ten gets from its TV contracts goes up, just because they're in those markets. It has nothing to do with the quality of the teams at Rutgers and Maryland.
Yeah, so I mean, again, helping the non-sports fans here. I mean, this goes well beyond sports, right? I mean, the dollars involved for these colleges. What are the stakes? How important is it?
Well, for example, at both Maryland and Rutgers in recent years, they have had to eliminate so-called non-revenue sports. The revenue sports are football and basketball because you can make money on them because of television and ticket sales. The non-revenue sports are sports like swimming and baseball and field hockey and soccer. They just don't make money. You try to break even if you're lucky in those sports. 6 years ago, Rutgers had to eliminate 6 of those programs. Last year, Maryland had to eliminate 7 of those programs because they weren't making enough money in football. So they believe that by making tens of millions more dollars in the next 10, 15, 20 years in football, they will allow themselves to fund other programs and also to build bigger stadiums and have more licensing money and, of course, the TV dollars.
So just in our last minute, John, I mean, is this what is it, a continuing arms race, or a sort of, I've picked your metaphor, but you expect this kind of thing to continue, and we're certainly seeing some odd geographic couplings and pairings, huh?
Yeah, well, all you need to know is that Boise State in Idaho and San Diego State in California are now in what's called the Big East Conference. And yes, okay, Jeff, it's musical chairs. And everybody is afraid they're going to be the last one left standing. So everybody is trying to grab, metaphorically, every chair that it can, whether it's the ACC grabbing Louisville or the Big Ten grabbing Rutgers and Maryland, and then the dominoes continue to fall. There will be more of this.
Boise is now in the East, huh?
Boise is in the east, San Diego is in the east, and Florida, South Florida and Central Florida are also up in the east. Yes. Okay. It makes no sense at all. And by the way, the Big Ten has 14 teams now.
I was going to say map makers have to get to work, but so do mathematicians. All right, John Feinstein, thanks so much.
Exactly right. Thank you, Jeff.